Hi guys!
Hi.
Today we want to talk about cons and pros of living and renting basement apartment. Let me explain first what basement apartments are. Usually it's a lower level of the house, most likely house, sometimes townhouse. And in order for owners to rent out apartment, they need to set it up properly. What does it mean? It means that this level apartment, we'll call it basement, supposed to have a separate kitchen, separate entrance, washroom with the shower or bathtub. So it's technically a place completely set up and completely separate from the main house where family or a few people can live on their own. In Canada, particularly in Ontario, we have few different types of basements. First one, it's a basement apartment completely underground with small windows or no windows at all. They could be partially underground with some windows, or maybe part of the basement could be with bigger windows, part with the smaller. And we also have very wonderful type of basements. We call it walkout basements. What does it mean? When house sits on the hill, one part of the house, like especially basement, has a bigger wall, and usually on this wall they put huge windows, so pretty much it's like you can walk out from this basement straight to your backyard, and because of this window, part of the basement is clear and bright and feels like normal place to live. So what are the advantages and benefits of living in the basement? We wanna explain you different moments so you can see on your own. When you come in here in Canada, of course it's very hard for you to get proper place of living because you don't have employment letter and credit score, and some other moments you don't have any references. So in this case it's very hard to look for detached house or townhouse or even condo and rent it out from the owner, because owner would like to know that you as a tenant will be paying on time and will be great tenant for next year, because usually you need to sign the agreement for full year. In case if you rent in basement, it's less risks for the owners, because in this case of course they still want to get the best tenants, and of course you need to provide some paperwork, and most likely you need to pay for a few months in advance. Like not few months is a must in Ontario, you need to pay first and last, but sometimes they will ask you to pay for 6 months in advance. In this case they will know that being newcomer, you'll have some time to find job, and then you will pay on time. So in this case you trying to save some money, and renting out the basement will be a great option. In this case you will get the same square footage as you can get, let's say, in condo or even small town house. Of course it's not as separate and bright, and you have a neighbors above you which can make you feel uncomfortable, but in any case you have to know that it's much cheaper than to rent any other type of the property. Usually when you're renting out the basement, all utilities included in the basement. Sometimes you may have different conditions, and let's say owner of the house can ask you to pay 1/3 part of utilities or half of utilities. It depends how many members you have in your family, but in any case try to negotiate that price that you pay to landlord will include everything. Sometimes I know when people rent in the basement, even internet is included. If landlord has an unlimited internet, they can include it in your payment as well. So try to negotiate it, and it will save you at least couple $100 a month. Also, because you're renting a basement apartment, they most likely will have entrance to the basement from the side of the house or from the backyard, and even better, when it's walkout basement, you will have access straight to backyard. In this case it's a great option, because all backyard will be for your own use, which is amazing. And if you have kids, that's amazing way to put some toys or trampoline or something for them, and they can spend time there. And trust me, it's much better than apartment. When we just came to Canada, our realtor told us that, it's better to rent like not very good place, but in a very good neighborhood. What I'm trying to say by that, if you want to live in a nice neighborhood, usually prices for rent are crazy there. And if you want to live in a safe place and with a nice schools, it's better to rent basement. It will be much cheaper than to rent whole house or even townhouse. But in this case, you will have this option to live in amazing neighborhood. So I think this is one of the benefits. Usually basements have more square footage compared to apartments. As you see, there are some advantages of living in the basement. So let's talk about disadvantages. And as you understand, it's usually a little bit less light if it's underground, or even if it's walkout basement, part of the basement is dark. So what people do right now, so they're trying to put a lot of spotlights or extra light there to help to fix this problem. But in any case, you should know about that if you look into rent basement apartment, it will be less light in any case. And of course it could be much colder because again it's a lower level, so you have to expect that it will be much colder than in a regular house. And again, talking about this, even in our house, when we set up some temperature for full house and our thermostat is on the main level, usually basement is much colder. It's like 3, 4 or even 5 degrees less than on main floor, which gives another disadvantage here, because usually temperature being controlled by landlord on the main level. In this case, you need to contact them all the time if you want to increase temperature, or if you want make it colder during summer, which is actually during summer it's even better, because usually in basements it's much colder than on the main level and second level of the house. And as I mentioned, because you live on the lower level, you usually have landlords or another tenant above you. It's not very comfortable knowing that someone living up there, but when you live in an apartment, let's say, you have neighbors all over, so it's pretty much the same. Sometimes you can hear your neighbors, or if they have a kids, it could be too loud for you. So you need to consider these moments, because for some people it feels like you just sharing house with someone on the main level. Some people also, it could be a little bit embarrassing living in the basement. Even like someone can ask, oh, where you live, and they're like, oh, I live in the basement. Actually, in general, you should know that people in Canada, they don't care where you live. They don't care what you wear. They don't care what you drive in most of the cases. So if you can save some money, who cares where you live? Again, like it's only how you feel. If you feel okay with that for first few years, while you're looking for a nice job or while you're trying to save some money, I think it's a great option. But again, we have to tell you about that, because we've seen some cases where people were feeling very shy talking about that and not very comfortable. But again, on other hand, we've seen some cases where people were living in especially walkout basements, and they were so happy because of this advantage that we mentioned at the beginning of the video. They had their backyard to themselves. They can use like everything, like they have a separate washer and dryer, which you can't get, by the way, when you live in apartment, only when you live in condo. So it depends how you react in this situation. And one of the disadvantages that I want to mention is usually when you live in the basement apartment, you have a parking space on the driveway, because people who landlords or even tenants who live on the main floor and second floor, they usually use the garage for themselves. But because we live in Ontario, we always have a lot of snow during winter. So in this case, you will be responsible of shoveling snow out of your car all almost every morning, and it's not fun, trust me. So as you can see, living in the basement apartment could be beneficial, but sometimes you have to sacrifice something for that. If you're thinking of renting basement apartment, we can recommend you to look at our video that we posted before, how workout basement apartment looks. So in this case, you can see the difference. And also we may suggest you, if you're looking for basement apartment, try to look in the newer subdivisions, in the better houses. Like, sometimes they have this luxury subdivisions with amazing houses, and sometimes they rent out basement apartments as well, especially if they have separate entrance. So in this case, your basement will look incredible. Honestly, we've seen some of them, like, they look much better than some townhouses that people live in. So we hope this video was very helpful for you, and if you have any questions, don't forget to leave your comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye now.